Give the doll a little bit of a curtsy. I think she's earned it. Welcome back, everyone, to episode 8 of my lore play of Bloodborne. The last episode was a very dense episode. Probably the densest one that we're going to find in the entire game in terms of lore. So even though I had been going roughly 3 episodes between these plot recaps, I felt like it was an appropriate time to recap just what we saw in the last episode, because there was a lot of stuff that we had to kind of process and make sense of, and the larger story at play kind of exploded as a result of the events of the last episode. So we're going to do another plot summary from the last episode. I think I did a kind of a rough job of it at the end of episode 7, but I think I took some notes down from what I had played through in the last episode, and I think this will give us a better overview of what we had seen. So let's go ahead and get started with that. We continued our descent into the unsettled part of the Forbidden Woods and found that the woods were infested with writhing masses of vipers. Men in the area seem to have been infected by these vipers. Their heads will burst open with snakes when they're agitated. Given the high quantity of antidote in the area, it is possible that these vipers were in fact the source of the ashen blood that plagued Old Yharnam, precipitating heavy use of blood ministration, which in turn led to the beast scourge in that area. That's purely conjecture. Again, the game, I don't think, ever explicitly tells you what ashen blood actually is, but we know that the only true source of the beast scourge that we have any evidence of at this point in the game is the use of blood, especially blood that was cut with the old blood that, the healing church was supposed to be trying to fear and avoid use of, but they didn't. They just didn't. And we have all the evidence we need to say that they were cutting their blood with, the old blood that they had found down in the labyrinth, and as a result, anyone and everyone who was making heavy use of it eventually became beasts. So, in a low-lying ravine in the woods, we stumbled upon a gathering of mushroom-like people, possible victims of Yusefka's experiments. We don't know. A pair of them have what appears to be antennae sprouting from the top of their heads, and they emit an audible electronic-like drone, which they appear to use to open a portal into space, for the sole purpose of drawing what looks like magic to attack us. The purpose of Yusefka's experiments is taking on a strange new angle at this point. We continue to find runes with water themes all throughout the Forbidden Woods, all pointing us very distinctly to the notion that a large body of water, likely nearby, acts as a bulwark guarding sleep and an augur of the eldritch truth. We also find a Metamorphosis Rune, the description of which clearly states that the discovery of blood is considered a first step in the pursuit of evolution, quoties, and that the excesses and deviation that followed was only the beginning. So the initial purpose of blood ministration may have been for healing purposes, but it appears that Bergenwerth, or more likely the Healing Church, viewed it as a first step to something more profound. Sorry, I'm moving my character around trying to keep the controller from falling asleep. Just outside of the boss arena, we find a summoning point for Henrik, who we had long since killed in the Tomb of Oedon area of Yharnam. Is it possible that Henrik of the waking world is in fact dead, and yet Henrik from another dream world yet lives? We may already have evidence of that. We may already have something that explains that, and in fact, let's go ahead and pull that item up so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the Eye of a Blood-Drunk Hunter, which we found at a point early in the game when we had come back to the hunter's dream, it was just lying on the ground, says that a hunter who goes drunk with blood is said to be taken by the nightmare, destined to wander forever, engaged in an endless hunt. It is a fate that no hunter can escape. So what this item is inferring, that's a favorite word of this particular series, is the word infer, is that the nightmare, much like the hunter's dream, isn't a figurative condition or location. It is a literal location, one that we will explore in a future episode. That is, in fact, the DLC for the old hunters. So we will get to that area at some point in the future. But what we can infer from this item is that Henrik, who clearly, when we had to fight and kill him, had become blood drunk and mad, was already taken by the nightmare. And the fact that we're finding him as someone that can be summoned into the waking world is the fact, it's explained by the fact that while the waking world version of Henrik is dead, it's possible that a second nightmare-trapped version of him also still exists. The only issue with that theory is that we'll never actually see Henrik in the Old Hunters DLC. So again, it could just be, as I said before, that time is convoluted in From Software's games, and they just wanted to explain to you just how old Henrik is, if he's considered a quote-unquote old hunter. Anyway, we fight and defeat the Shadows of Yharnam, a trio of dark-clothed, wraith-like people, one of whom, or possibly all of whom, possess the Blood Rapture Rune. The rune, sorry, I wrote run in this description here, indicates that the Shadows are servants of, quote-unquote, the Queen, carrier of the Child of Blood. Given the path directly forward is blocked by these servants, perhaps the Queen is somewhere just ahead. And of course, we did find out at the end of the episode that from what we could tell, yes, she was straight ahead. We finally arrive at the forbidden grounds of Byrgenwerth and are immediately jumped by a creature that appears to have been human, but now resembles a large walking fly. It holds a stone in its hand, and if the fly manages to grab onto you, it holds the stone against your head, which emits a high-pitched squealing sound that causes frenzy buildup. It is possible that the beast itself is making that sound and not the stone, but I just found it very interesting that it has this stone in one hand, and when it grabs you, it seems to hold the stone near your head. That could just be me adding to something that may not necessarily be something we can prove. I don't know. Behind the main building, we find a large weed-like creature, possibly a deformed centipede. I say that knowing that the name of the creature is something along the lines of celestial centipede or something crazy like that, with dozens of legs. It possesses the ability, somewhat like the mushroom people, to open a portal into the cosmos, quoties, and draw forth large flaming rocks to strike us. Large flaming rocks from space, probably meteors. Can't say for certain. We found an item called Great One's Wisdom, which is a more effective form of the Madman's Knowledge consumable. The description states that it contains fragments of the lost wisdom of the Great Ones, and that Master Willem experienced an epiphany. We are thinking on the basis of planes. What we need are more eyes. This confirms a few important details. We have more confirmation along with the 1/3 of an umbilical cord that the Great Ones do in fact exist. And as far as we can tell at this point, that the people of Yharnam saw them or continue to see them as gods. And that Master Willem believes that there are multiple planes of existence and that the only way to perceive them is to acquire more eyes. Given this epiphany, the multiple-eyed fly creatures found in abundance around Byrgenwerth may in fact be Master Willem's crude attempts to graft more eyes onto a human. Knowing that some view the act of metamorphosis from blood ministration as a mere first step to evolution, perhaps Willem also viewed these creatures as progress. We don't know. But if the Healing Church themselves saw beasts, although unsavory, as just a first step in evolution, why wouldn't Willem see these creatures as a first step to higher enlightenment? That's what he is seeking. So I had to get a little water in me. We now have a more clear understanding of the rift separating the minds of Byrgenwerth and the members of the Healing Church. The Healing Church sought to evolve the human species through the use of old blood in blood ministration, and Byrgenwerth rejected the use of the old blood in favor of gaining insight by, quite literally, acquiring and surgically implanting eyes, possibly on the inside. Master Willem kind of leans in that direction. We also now have a better idea of the implementation of these opposing philosophies in the game mechanics. Insight sits at the core of these philosophies. If you acquire a large amount of insight, you become more susceptible to the frenzy status, which represents the mind suffering from the rapid acquisition of dangerous knowledge. If you have very low insight, you become more susceptible to the beasthood status, which represents your potential transformation into a beast from blood use. It is important to note at this point, though, however, that the beasthood status was not a fully fleshed out mechanic in the finished game. That is something that they had intended to explore more, but From Software adds a lot of stuff into their games that they mean to finish before they have to ship the game, and unfortunately sometimes that just doesn't happen. I think another large section of the game that, unfortunately, there may be some lore, but it's going to be hard to tie it back into the main game, is Cainhurst Castle. We will get to it later, but unfortunately, I don't know if it really adds much to the plot of the main game, and that's because it was an area that was wholly separate from the main game world, and it almost seems like the characters there were meant to be this world's version of vampires. But we'll delve into that when we get to the Cainhurst Castle area, which is probably going to be an entire episode just on its own. Let's see. We located a bottle of sedative solution made of thick human blood. The description warns that those who delve into the arcane fall all too easily to madness, again alluding to the consequences of the rapid acquisition of dangerous knowledge. We keep getting all this evidence that if you learn something that is world-altering or mind-altering, and you get too much of it too fast, it will cause you to go mad, and or in the case of this game, and again, I don't think this is a figurative representation. As you've seen in Madman's Knowledge and Great One's Wisdom, your head can literally explode if you learn too much too fast. We entered the main hall of Byrgenwerth and obtained a ritual material called Pearl Slug. Originally found in the Old Labyrinth, it is considered a clear sign of the left-behind Great Ones. So it sounds like the Great Ones not only do exist, but some may still be here. Let's take a look at that item. No, don't use it. Display it. There we go. Where was I? Okay. The Pearl Slugs also bear a striking resemblance to the light emanations represented in the Madman's Knowledge and Great One's Wisdom items, which we'll take a quick peek at. Yep, there you go. Dead center of the skull. And of course, you see what looks like the cosmos also emanating from the skull. But right dead center is a light emanation that looks just like a slug. So that can't possibly be just a coincidence. They had to have meant for that to be a literal representation of the pearl slugs. On the second floor of Byrgenwerth, we encounter a gentleman in unusual white garb that uses portals to the cosmos to summon a burst of flailing tentacles as well as a series of energy bolts. It appears that the remaining members of Byrgenwerth, if that is what they are, have acquired the ability to open portals into the cosmos. Spoiler alert, that gentleman is not from Byrgenwerth. He may have been wandering Byrgenwerth, but he's not a member of Byrgenwerth, and we'll delve into that in a future episode. A note on the second floor indicates that the spider that hides all manner of rituals is certain to reveal nothing, for true enlightenment need not be shared. It could mean that this spider is in possession of knowledge that it refuses to share, or, more likely, that it is incapable of even learning and or processing such knowledge in the first place. It is a spider, right? Another note states that when the red moon hangs low, the line between man and beast is blurred, and when the great ones descend, a womb will be blessed with child. We had heard that rituals that were being conducted in Yahar'gul required a newborn. Perhaps this is the newborn that they were seeking. Just outside of the door to the balcony leading to the boss fight is a summon for Damien, Scholar of Mensis, and the School of Mensis were the ones conducting the rituals in Yahar Ghul. They now seem to have a clear vested interest in the elimination of the Byrgenwerth spider. They're trying to conduct rituals. The spider is preventing those rituals from being seen. You kill the spider, you get to conduct your rituals after all. In the observatory area near the top of Byrgenwerth, we find a chest containing an empty phantasm shell. Sorry, I got to pause here for a second. I kind of got tired of writing the word Byrgenwerth over and over, so in the notes I kept putting down the Berg, which is spelled B-Y-R-G. It makes me laugh looking at it now. But anyway, and near the top of the building, we found a chest containing an empty phantasm shell. Per the description, phantasms are another word for invertebrates, slugs, perhaps, that are said to be familiars of a great one, and that the Healing Church has discovered a great variety of them. This shell acts as a source of arcane power. That's just kind of an elemental damage spell or status, kind of like fire or bolt. Arcane is a separate form of elemental damage that you can cause. But I find it interesting that literally what they're telling you is you're just kind of taking the slime from the phantasm shell and rubbing it on your weapon to make it arcane. It's kind of silly, but that is what it's used for. We make our way out to the balcony overlooking the lake behind Byrgenwerth, and we find Master Willem. His eyes are covered, and he is clearly extremely old. He has what looks like mushroom stalks sprouting from the back of his neck. He gestures without speaking to the lake, indicating where we must go next. And again, I had noted that the game, and this is kind of a problem with From Software games to some people, the game doesn't tell you the story as you're playing it. You often have to learn from clues in the environment or item descriptions what exactly is going on. And the game gave you 5 separate items on your way to Byrgenwerth that all told you that, the lake was guarding the secret that you were meant to go find. And if somehow you managed to get this far without ever reading a single item description, there's literally a character over the area you need to go to next that just points at it. That was a little bit on the nose. I get why they had to do it. It's just it's silly. It's very gamey. They don't trust you to figure it out on your own, so they just have someone say, go there. In an act of incomprehensible brutality, we killed Master Willem. I would note that he definitely had it coming, and we'll learn why in a future episode. We obtain the Eye Rune. The description states that Master Willem was disillusioned by the limits of the human intellect and looked to beings from higher planes of existence for guidance, and more importantly, sought to line his brain with eyes in order to elevate his thoughts. We are no longer simply talking about the acquisition of insight as a euphemism for greater knowledge. Master Willem actually wanted eyes implanted into or onto his brain to elevate his thoughts, which could be considered a more literal and grotesque form of insight, quotes. We finally jump into the lake and seemingly land on top of another body of water, perhaps a different plane of existence. I'll kind of hover on that because that's exactly what it is. In the distance is a large caterpillar-like creature, the long-spoken-of Byrgenwerth spider, Rom the Vacuous. It has dozens, possibly hundreds of eyes lining its head and body, small limbs, and a plume of luminescent plants growing on its back. The face has a dopey, seemingly confused look. It seems that Rom was certain to reveal nothing because it was incapable of learning anything. It's important to note here that the literal Japanese name refers to him with rather inappropriate words for mental deficiency. I won't say what it is here. They didn't seem too worried about being politically correct with this, but simply stated, The spider in both the Japanese and English versions of the name are very literally telling you that he isn't capable of acquiring or sharing anything. He's simply too simple-minded to be able to do that. We defeat Ram and find a woman crying in the distance. She's tall and pale, like the church servants, and she has blood on the front of her dress in the area where her womb would be. We also hear a newborn crying somewhere. It appears that we have found the queen that bore the child of blood, and it has likely been taken from her. We look up and see that the moon, now red, is fast approaching the earth. We appear to collapse from the strain of the moon's presence. We reawaken in the ritual chamber that was to the right of the High Cathedral in Yharnam, and we look up to find a massive, multiple-armed creature clinging to the upper bounce of the chamber. The mysterious cosmic energy that had been trying to scoop us up whenever we approached that door in the area was, in fact, this monstrous being trying to grab us. Perhaps we have found a great one? It's certainly big. It's certainly weird-looking. And it can certainly do things that we fail to have a good explanation for. We step out into the open and notice that the sky has taken on a purplish red color, and the moon is much closer than it was before. We also observe that the moon is now so close, clouds appear to be moving behind the moon. That shouldn't even be possible unless that, in fact, is not the moon. Up by the entrance to the High Cathedral, we found Eileen, seriously wounded and gasping for air. She mentions that she can no longer dream to escape death and that this is her last chance. She notes that a hunter is lying in wait in the cathedral and warns us not to engage. Unfortunately, we did, and things didn't go so well. We may have to circle back to that encounter. Hopefully, Eileen will survive long enough for us to do a little bit of leveling. Because if not, we're not going to be able to beat it. I mean, that hunter was one-shotting us with a gun. That's something you don't normally see, even if it's a shotgun at close range. So we need to upgrade our character a little bit before we try that again. Upon our first return to the Hunter's Dream, which we're in right now since eliminating Rom, we found that the Hunter's Dream itself has undergone a change. The music, as you can tell because it's been playing this entire time, has a more somber tone, and the sky, which was once an endless void of white haze, is now full of dark, heavy clouds, and as you can see up there, there are little spots of blue sky starting to peek through. One could fairly draw a conclusion here that maybe the Hunter's Dream itself was a result of a ritual. We don't have a good explanation for why these changes are happening if all we did was kill a spider. So I think that's a good wrap up. Let me get a little bit of water because that was a lot of talking. Hopefully you guys got all that because we're going to be taking a quiz at the end of this episode. I hope you took notes. All right. So we got some cleanup to do from the last episode because we did a lot of stuff and then we just kind of beelined back to the exit as fast as we could because that episode was very long. This one might end up being a little bit shorter. It depends on how much I can get done, how quickly, and more importantly, whether or not we do have time for a Chalice Dungeon. I think we're going to try to do that. But we got to get some stuff taken care of that we didn't do in the last episode. And I think first things first, we kind of ran out of the Oedon Chapel, and we abandoned all these people that looked like they were starting to have some issues with the world outside. Well, you should find out what those issues were. So, first things first, let's talk to the leader of Oedon Chapel, if that's what you would call him.
Once the night of the hunt passes, suppose we could be friends? Give it a thought. Well, if you wouldn't mind.
Alright, so nothing new there. He's not the one we gotta worry about, unfortunately. It's Ariana. And how about you, Adela? So she's starting to lose it, just like the poor old lady did at one point. I think it's more just laughing, but she might say something different the second time. Well, I say laughing, but also there's clearly a little bit of sobbing in there. Unfortunately, the situation has not gotten better. It's only gotten worse for these people, so they're all starting to struggle.
Ah, your lies spin a web, but I see through your deceit. I did not learn from books. No. I learned it all with my own mind.
Okay.
Ah, but
Okay. You didn't offer anything new. Now, we had come through here quite a few times to see the old lady very upset. And now, she doesn't look like she's suffering at all. Wonder what happened.
There you are. You're early, dear. Is anything the matter? You can always tell me. Mother will make everything better.
Her tone has certainly changed. Oh, interesting. I had never noticed that before. I may have to pipe up the game audio there and shut off me yapping right after I had finished talking to her. If you listen very carefully in the background, and it went away almost as fast as I started talking about it, you could hear the newborn crying in the background. Yeah, you can still hear it. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk to her again. See, the last time we had talked to her, well, the last couple of times, first she was very crotchety and upset, blaming everything on us. Then she became very distraught, suffering the same kind of manic kind of sadness, hysteria that the poor nun back there, Adela, is suffering from. And now she seems very chill. Almost like she's using some kind of medicine.
What's wrong? Anything you'd like to tell me?
I have my share of woes. Let's offer them.
You poor thing. But don't you worry. This'll help you forget. Forget your troubles. Forget your cares.
Yep. She is, in fact, using a drug to help hide her sanity, basically, or lack of sanity at this point. It was the sedative that we looked at in the last episode, the thick human blood that calms frayed nerves. Yeah, so she's basically just medicating to try to get through this. Let's see if we can't get some more out of her.
What is it, dear? Are you in a bind again?
Always.
You poor thing. But don't you worry. This'll help you forget. Forget your troubles. Forget your cares.
We got 2 bottles this time. Let's see if she's got any more.
This'll help.
We now have 3 extra bottles of sedative from her. Wonder if we can just keep taking all the sedative from her.
Now, have some patience. I will make everything better.
So she's now out of sedative. Now, the interesting thing is, when she initially got here, she didn't seem to have any sedative, or if she did, she wasn't taking it. And she's certainly become far more calm than she was before. And we just wiped out her entire supply of the sedative. I wonder what will happen now that she's out and probably looking for more, because we just tried to take it from her again. And I'll find out in a future interaction. Notice that Adela doesn't seem to care anymore.
Forgive me, I'm a bit out of sorts. So, no blood today, I'm afraid. Oh, there's something wrong with me.
So let's review the information that we have up to this point that might explain what's going on with her. First of all, as she had indicated when we first met her down in the lower part of the cathedral ward, she is in fact a prostitute. And the great ones who lack the ability to have children of their own seek surrogates. And when the red moon hangs low, a womb will be blessed with child. What better person to carry a child than a prostitute, it seems. So she may in fact be pregnant. I have a feeling we'll find out in the future. So, we're now all caught up on the people here. Let's go back to the Forbidden Woods. Unfortunately, there's no quick way to do that in-game, aside from going back to the Hunter's Stream and then teleporting there. They may not have handled that in the best way in this game. Direct teleportation to the places you want to go would have been a nice change, but I didn't make the game, I just play it. The doll's asleep again. Sometimes when you come back, you'll have a little darkening area at the bottom of the screen where, you know, characters normally would be talking. That usually indicates that one of the characters you're nearby is trying to say something or possibly just asleep. So let's go to the Forbidden Woods. There are 2 clothing sets that we missed here. And we want to try to pick those up. We may do a little bit of just running past enemies instead of trying to fight them. We'll see how well this works out. It may go great. It may go terrible. Hopefully great. I'd hate to have to go through this area multiple times trying to get these item sets, but if I was more thorough, I would have gotten them the first time we went through here. Whoa! Didn't even notice you. Did this time. Oh, I knocked down the lantern. Didn't even know that was possible. Remember, that's a trap. Don't touch it. So we want to veer to the left. And we're going to hang around a bend here through a whole bunch of guys. And go up the hill. And keep going. And keep going. Alright, and where we want to go is back here. There's a clothing set somewhere in this area that we did not pick up. We're going to try to get it this time. Not sure where. Let's see. Looks like it is up near where all these dogs are, so let's see if there was something I missed. Uh-oh. Ow! There's another dog here somewhere, I thought. Oh, maybe not. Alright, so... maybe in this house? Did I miss going in here? No, I went in here. How about this building? Did I go in here? Can you even go in that building? I think this was where we got, yeah, well, the tonsil stone originally. So I don't think I'll be able to get in that building. Certainly does not appear to be the case. I don't think it's this far. I think it's somewhere else. Owie! I was going to give you treaties, and now you get no treaties. I don't think that's it either. What did I miss? Keep poking around, see if there's an entrance to this building. I'm assuming it's inside of a building. I just don't know where it is. It may also be underneath the building. Oh, can't open the door. Although it doesn't look like there was anything in there to begin with. Oh, there we go. And I did come in here. So, it is possible it's down the hill here, but I don't think that's where it's located. Let's see if we can find a better description. Okay, continue past the cages. You find a carrion crow guarding a ladder on your right. Head up to find another. Okay, I think I see what I did wrong. So it is back. Wait, where are we? Back this way, I think. Aha! Bingo. There it is. I did not make that the most clear item in the world to find, unfortunately. So, I apologize. I mean, I never would have even looked at that and seen it as a ladder. It just looked like more junk equipment. So we now have the White Church Garb. Let's take a look at that set. Excuse me. White church hat, attire of special church doctors. These doctors are superiors to the white preventative hunters and specialists in experimentally backed blood ministration and the scourge of the beast. They believe that medicine is not a means of treatment, but rather a method for research, and that some knowledge can only be obtained by exposing oneself to sickness. So this is very important, and I'm glad that we went back and grabbed this equipment because it is laying very plain what was happening with this blood ministration. They knew that the blood ministration had two effects. Number one, that it was healing people of various ailments and had an invigorating and curing effect. And we see it when we use it in the game. You inject yourself with blood and you heal almost immediately. They also knew that this blood was causing people to turn into beasts eventually. And they indicate here that they didn't just see their use of blood or medicines, possibly the antidote, as a means of treatment, but rather for research. So whether or not they were expecting people to be healed by this medicine that they were giving out is irrelevant. They just wanted to see what would happen if they gave it out, and the effects it had on people who used it. Look at that set. Not bad. It will get very dirty very quickly. Let's find that ladder. There it is. Scoot on down. Woo, woo, woo. Alright, so there is one more set of clothing that we want to get. We're going to do the best we can to get it quickly. We may end up going back to the lantern here, willingly or otherwise, simply because we may die trying to do this. If so, oh well, we can always use the shortcut to where we want to go. Because what we want to do now is go back to the viper-infested area of the Forbidden Woods to get some clothing that was sitting way down in the bottom of the area and that we walked by because I wasn't paying a terribly high amount of attention. It's unfortunate, but that's what happens when you're trying to make your way through a convoluted area and you're rushing sometimes. I wasn't trying to rush, but honestly, after going in circles for so long, you just get tired of it and you just want to get to the end of the area. Owie! You jerk. Oh, also important to note, there was an area up there that we missed. I believe you get to it back this way. Maybe not. Maybe you got to go into the building. We'll find out here in a second. Oh, that is eerie. I can still hear the newborn crying. So, let's go this way. Let's see if we can't make our way back up from the outside. I think that's how we did it last time. Maybe not. I can't remember exactly. It's a ladder, right? Yep, there it is. As well as a guy. Come on, you made that easy. Yep, stay down. Unfortunately, and I have to own up to this because I'm doing as much of the gameplay from memory as possible instead of just using a walkthrough, I think I may have missed a fairly significant encounter simply because I didn't know where I was looking. Yep, it was right up here. So I don't think he's going to be here anymore, but there's usually an NPC to the right here when you come out. Yep, he's already gone. So, I will go ahead and just explain what happens if you encounter this individual. You come out here, you walk up to this area, and if you stop before you get too close, I don't know how close it has to be, you'll notice that he is hunched over and seemingly scooping at one of these bodies, which you can see are all dead. In the case of that young child for a while. Same with the gentleman here. Hard to tell with the lady. And there's blood there. Looks fairly fresh. I mean, blood stains, I guess, don't necessarily change. I don't know. I've never murdered anyone. But when you approach him, he stands up and says, you know, he thought we were a beast and that we were about to attack him. He thanks us for not doing that, and then asks if there's any safe haven that we could send him to. Again, just like any other NPC, I'm sorry, I don't know why I keep doing the barrel smashing. we do have two options. We can send him to Oedon Chapel, or we can send him to Yusefka's clinic. Of all the people that you meet in the game, he would probably be the best candidate for sending to Yusefka's clinic, and there's a very important reason for that. And unfortunately, I kind of blew my chance to explain something I had also been hinting at for a while now, which was the importance of incense. If you send this gentleman to Yusefka's clinic, he'll go in and you'll see that a new resident for the mushroom people has appeared. But if you send him to Oedon Chapel, instead of going into the chapel, you see him standing outside of the chapel the entire time. It turns out that the beggar, his name is Suspicious Beggar, is actually a beast. And he is a beast that possesses the skill and ability to not only transform at will, but also to communicate as a beast. The unfortunate part is if you send him to Oedon Chapel, anytime one of the people that you guided back to Oedon Chapel, and this happens off screen, you never actually see it, but anytime one of those people exits the chapel, he kills them and consumes them because he is a beast. The way you find out is every time one of them disappears, you go outside and talk to him. He thanks you again for guiding him to Oedon Chapel and gives you a beast blood pellet as a reward for letting him kill another person. He doesn't say that specifically that he's killing those people, but it's safe to infer that if these people just disappear, he's killing them. So unfortunately, I botched that because we have killed Rom and initiated the end of the bulwark that Rom represented. It's no longer possible for you to save anyone else in the game and guide him back to one of the safe havens. At this point, he's gone. You can't get him back in the game. So sorry I wasn't more diligent in tracking this stuff down. I knew he was in the area and I flat forgot how to get to him. It happens. But anyway, let's move on. We want to get to our favorite part of the game, the snake area. Down into the depths. Interesting thought here. I don't remember getting anything for that area. If I found a switch or a platform that takes us down there, I don't know where it is. Snake boy? There you are. Hey, what up, dog? Nope. Come on. I need you to swing your axe. The snakes won't do it! Nope. I'm learning from my mistakes. I'm not just going to flail at him endlessly. Take a hit, step back, let him try to get his chomps, fail miserably, and continue on. So we want to go down, I think, to the left this time instead of down to the right. We had been circling the right side of the area through most of our trips through here, and it turns out left may be the faster way. If I can find a good dropping point. We want to get down to the bottom. The bottom of the area. Oh, you see the mushroom man down there? You can't make that drop. It would kill you. Just a bit too steep. Just a bit. But that is where we need to go. Hey! And let's see if there's a safer drop point. I think over here. That's gonna hurt. Let's see if there's a more graceful. He dropped out of the tree. These are tree vipers. If I had a nickel. Nothing on this upper platform. Just a quick way to dodge these guys. Oh. Which, as we revealed in the last episode, they are weak to bolts. And you can see if you let them hit you, they do quite a bit of damage. They are capable fighters, despite the dopey look they have. I did it again. I don't know why I always forget which button does the trick weapon move and which one shoots your gun. It's both L, the shoulder buttons on the left side. Hey, got a gemstone. And the two real bad troublemakers. Let's see if we can get them before they do their tricks. Yes, we got them both. And you're next. So as much fun as it is to use one weapon through the entire game, it does pay off to build a second one for specific encounters to make sure that you can kill enemies quickly and with a minimum of fuss. Alright, so we were here for another clothing set, and that clothing set, if I'm not mistaken, is this way. Let me make sure I got a map here of the area that I can take a quick peek at. Okay, so I'm down here. Turn left and just go this way. I don't need to fight the pig. They can stay there. But we know we need to go down that way, I believe. No, maybe not. Maybe it's up this way. Let's see, there is a pig hiding somewhere. In a cave nearby. You hear the pig, we're near the item. I hear the pig. So the clothing set is right here, somewhere. Oh, there's the piggy. Okay, so there's the pig, and the clothing set should be right here somewhere. Just gotta find it. Uh-oh. I think I see it. I think I see it right there. Woo! Bingo! Is that the full set? I thought you got... maybe the hat's a separate piece. Let's see. There's a hat for it. Let's find out where that is. Oh, come on. Is it the thing over top of me? Because there was an item directly above here that I didn't get. It is. Yep. Shoot. Alright, so the other item is that one right up there. I have no idea how to get to that. Darn. I'm not sure if there's an easy way back to that platform from here. Take a look at the map. Yeah, we may have to circle around to an upper section and just start peeking over the ledge to find it. Certainly not here. Now we can glean whatever information can be found from the items that we already acquired, but you want the full set, you know? The hat's probably the coolest part of the set. You don't want to give that up. Alright, well, let's get rid of this guy. Uh-oh, uh-oh. Oh, look at that. No, 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 no! No! Don't get killed by the little ones. So many small ones. Whew. That was really dicey. I got some bloodstone shards. Quite a few, actually. In the right spot. It's going to be up here somewhere. I think. No? Oh, wait a minute. I bet I have to jump over there. Yeah! See if that's it. And there it is. Alright, we got the full set. Perfect. Yoink! Alright, so let's look at our new equipment, and we're also going to put it on, because, I mean, you got to put it on. You found it. Alright, Graveguard Mask. Mask of Doris, Graveguard of the Forbidden Woods. His pale countenance mimics the Labyrinth Watchers. Willem kept 2 loyal servants back in Bergenworth. When they were sent into the Labyrinth, they encountered the Eldritch Truth and went mad. One became the password gatekeeper, as we remember that gentleman that just seemed to die with no explanation, or had already been dead, while Doris became a Graveguard of the Forest. Both remained loyal, even in madness. So, basically, it's telling you there was some information down in the Labyrinth, just like everywhere in Yharnam at this point, that was too much for their minds to handle, and they both went mad. Alright, and we are now the Graveguard. Look at that face. Whoa. Awesome. Alright, so... Oh, I have a Wold Hunter mark, don't I? Yep. I wish to reawaken. Whoa. So we got the 2 sets that we wanted to get here. And now we have to go make a trip. Actually, let's do something real quick. Maybe silly and dumb. Or at least from the outset it looks silly and dumb, but we want to do this on purpose, which is we're going to let an enemy attack us. There's a crow here. Owie! You jerk! Ow, ow, ow! I'll teach you. Give you the drubbing of a lifetime. Okay, let's kill the rest of the crows so they don't come after me. It's all part of the plan. Rest assured. So we're now injured. And we gotta heal. I don't want to waste Blood Vial. Let's use one that we had been sitting on this entire time. Yosefka's Blood Vial. Which I think we read the first time we got it. Blood Vial acquired from Yosefka's clinic. This refined blood, highly invigorating, restores a larger amount of HP. The product of a slow and careful refinement process. This rare Blood Vial appears to be a clinic original. Well, let's go ahead and use this clinic original. Ta-da! Unfortunately, that is a one-time use item. Once you use it, it's gone. Shoot! I should have had a better use for that item. Alright, so we lost some health, which was unfortunate, but we recovered using Yosefka's Blood Vial. I wonder if there may be one in here. So I had mentioned in a previous episode when we came back into Yosefka's clinic through a side entrance that the real Yosefka had potentially been disposed of, and the imposter Yosefka was the person who was left in charge of this place. This is Yosefka. Not that she was always one of these blue mushroom people, but in fact, she was converted into a blue mushroom man. There is an actual name for these characters, and I'm being very cagey about it. The actual name of this enemy is a celestial mob. So, unfortunately, this is the end of Yosefka storyline. If you invite other people back to Yosefka's clinic as opposed to Oedon Chapel, and the imposter Yosefka gets to experiment on them as she chooses to do, what will happen is those people will be converted into a celestial mob, and you'll notice certain characteristics on all of them that you would normally see if you were playing through the game and sending everyone to Oedon Chapel. You'll find that the skeptical gentleman is kind of seated in a way kind of like he is in Oedon Chapel on a bench or something. You'll see that the lonely old woman, I can't think of what her name actually is, she will in fact have a bottle of sedative on her if you kill her. I believe the suspicious beggar will be seen hunched in a corner scooping at something, kind of like he does if you had found him above the windmill, which we failed to do, when he was scooping at the bodies that he had killed and was eating, basically. I don't know what Adela and Ariana do. They may also have blood vials on them, because both Adela and Ariana can donate blood to you. But that is how you confirm that those celestial mobs that you find in here are, in fact, what remains of the people that you had sent back here. So, let's see if Yosefka has changed her tune since the end of the bulwark. Just what I'm going to keep referring to it as. I could just say since we killed Rom, but I prefer my way. It's fun. Nothing new in here. You just have a mysterious blue glow over here to try to draw you into the room, since they want you to see that that cart has a dead celestial on it. So previously we came in here, she chided us for sneaking into the clinic and then tasked us with continuing our arrangement, and we just kind of turned around and walked away. She doesn't seem too worried that we've returned, curious enough. And I believe she's up here on this balcony normally if you come in earlier before the end of the bulwark. Nothing there. She doesn't seem to be around. Got another room in here. Uh-oh. What's going on with imposter Yosefka now?
God, I'm nauseous. Have you felt this? It's progressing. I can see things. I knew it. I'm different. I'm no beast. Oh, God, it feels awful. But it proves that I'm chosen. Don't you see how the writhe inside my head? It's rather rapturous.
Sorry, I didn't mean to undercut the importance of this scene by looking at the face, but I couldn't help myself. So what she just said is that she believes she has been quote-unquote chosen, and that she can feel something writhing around inside of her head. God,
I'm nauseous. Have you felt this? It's progressing. I can see things. I knew it. I'm different. Oh, God, it feels awful. Don't you see how they rot? It's rather...
So nothing new there. Well, I hate to say it, Yosefka, or fake Yosefka, but you did some pretty awful things in the name of your scientific experiments, and you just gotta go. One-third of umbilical cord. So it appears that Yosefka was one of these wombs that was blessed with, eventually, a child. Let's take a look at this item. Turns out they are different, even if you find the same item. I'm not sure which one we want to look at. I think it's not this one. So is it that one? No. We were looking at the right one. So we'd already seen before this item. We'll go ahead and read both of them so that we have a full understanding of what the item's trying to tell us. 1/3 of umbilical cord, a great relic, also known as the cord of the eye. Every infant great one has this precursor to the umbilical cord. Every great one loses its child and then yearns for a surrogate. The third umbilical cord precipitated the encounter with the pale moon, which beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. Used to gain insight and, so they say, eyes on the inside, although no one remembers what that truly entails. Possibly it entails a writhing mass of some kind of slug or energy slugs inside your head. Hard to say, but that would certainly be considered eyes on the inside if you consider those little antennae that slugs have, eyes. Let's look at the other one. Every infant great one has his precursor, blah, blah, blah. Provost Willem sought the cord in order to elevate his being and thoughts to those of a great one by lining his brain with eyes, the only choice he knew if man were ever to match their greatness. So he may have experimented with the surgical implantation of eyes on others, but he thought that the way to actually get the kind of eyes on the inside that he desired was through the use of one of these umbilical cords. So let's examine what we're being told here by these two completely similar but yet different items and what they entail. This item says that it precipitated the encounter with the pale moon and conceived the hunter's dream, or the encounter with the pale moon somehow beckoned the hunters and conceived the hunter's dream. This item is telling us that if you consume it, you'll line your brain with eyes, gaining the insight to, or the elevate your thoughts to those of a great one. So these two items combined may have a pretty profound effect on us, potentially at the end of the game. Hint. But we'll, of course, find out about that at a later time. The important thing that we needed to note here is that Yosefka seemed to have been someone who was blessed with child, possibly from a great one, since we have a third umbilical cord that looks like one from a great one. And Ariana, back in Oedon Chapel, seems to be suffering a similar discomfort. And of course, we saw that the queen that we found at the bottom of the lake where Rom was located had somehow already given birth. It seems like the description that when the red moon hangs low, a womb will be blessed with child was very inspecific. It appears that multiple wombs can be blessed with child, not just the one. So that is, I think, all the story-specific catch-up that we needed to do in this episode. We're going to take a look at the Chalice Dungeons next. There were a couple other things that we could try to do, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat that hunter that Eileen wanted us to go after. At this point, we need to level a little bit. And there are 2 optional areas that we could examine, but both of them I think are too large to finish with just an hour left. About 50 minutes. But I think we can actually do a part of a Chalice Dungeon in 50 minutes. At least I hope we can. It would be embarrassing if we started it and then it turned into a 3-hour slog. I don't think anything's changed with the shops, but we can always take a look. Nothing new from any of these. We can always buy some weapons or guns that we hadn't found yet, but I don't think there's anything else there. And I doubt there's anything up at the Insight Fountain that we missed. This game is different from the Dark Souls games in that there isn't a huge quantity of equipment simply because your builds are usually pretty limited, and they also consider the trick weapons to be multiple weapons in one, in that you could transform them to do unique things, extend the weapon, add elemental damage to it, all kinds of things like that. Makeshift altar. First ritual altar. So, we're going to do the first ritual altar, and if I have the ability to do so, we might do a makeshift. I don't know for certain if I'll be able to do that. I also want to spend some blood echoes. I don't think we got any gems that we could use. Oh, we can't upgrade anything. At least not right now. We could upgrade the gun, but again, it just does not do much damage, so it's not worth it. And these are all good. We could check to see if there was anything better. I don't think that's going to be the case, no. Yeah, that's fine. Not a big deal. Oh, let's repair the weapons, just to keep them in tip-top shape. And you can see we used this pretty sparingly down there. We only used it against a couple of celestial mobs, and it's still pretty worn down. So the Tonitrus is not meant for heavy-duty use. It's specific enemies and in limited quantities. You don't want to use that as your main weapon, or you're going to be running out of it pretty quickly and pretty often. So,
welcome home, good hunter.
For my manners, I'm not looking right at you.
Desire?
There we go.
Very well.
Right now, she's staring directly at that cone at the top of my hood, going, "What is that?"
Now shut your...
Okay, so we can only do one level. I would say health. Yeah, let's do health.
Farewell, good hunter.
Huh, farewell. I just back out of this conversation? Oh, we had gotten a new kind of cold blood that I had not examined. So I can adjust. Alright. It's called Kin Cold Blood, used to gain unspeakable blood echoes. I don't know when we got this, but it's important to read it anyway. And look at that thing. It is disturbing. Cold blood of inhuman kin of the cosmos, brethren of the great ones, used to gain unspeakable blood echoes. Dare not delve into the world beyond humanity, the eldritch truth touched upon long ago at Bergenworth. So it's important to note something that this talks about that we had not really explored yet, but is pretty vital to understanding what we're seeing in the world right now, which is that there exists a form of brethren to the Great Ones called kin. We have been seeing kin all over the place and not realized it. The Mind Flayer creature, the celestial mobs that we're seeing, possibly even Rom, are all kin. They're not actually Great Ones. Usually the way that we can tell that is when you hit a kin and they bleed, instead of bleeding red blood, they bleed something pale, almost like snot, mucus, whatever you want to call it. That's usually a telltale giveaway. The other giveaway that you're not fighting a Great One, you're in fact fighting kin, is that kin are weak to bolt damage. All of the enemies I just described, what was their primary weakness? Bolt damage. So we have been seeing kin and didn't realize that's what they were. We just knew these were unearthly looking creatures and that potentially they were the Great Ones that we had been hearing about. But it turns out, no, they're just kin. Kin to the Great Ones. I don't think that was enough. I need one more. Let's see if that's enough. Let me level.
Welcome home. What is it? Very well,
Yes, I got just enough for one more. Let's dump it into stamina. Stamina is always good.
Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
I'll do my best. So, something we hadn't really messed around with at this point because I think all of them require a certain level of arcane, and it turns out all three of these items do, is these repeatable use items that all have unique effects. And you can see in the middle column there where it says usage type unlimited use. That's because they all require quicksilver bullets to use them. Let's go ahead and put one on. Get rid of that. No. And now we'll put it right here. So, leveling up your arcane makes you capable of using these items that represent a form of magic in the world of Bloodborne. It's not truly magic. It's just a unique effect from an item that you hold. But if you use Beast Roar, you do this. What that does is any enemy that's around you when you activate it will be pushed back and suffer a little bit of damage. The Old Hunter Bone, which allows the art of quickening, actually makes it so that when you dodge in this game, your character temporarily becomes invisible. I believe it does make you a little more difficult to hit as far as adding to your iframes, your invulnerability frames when you do a dodge. I can't confirm that. I believe that's the case. And it's a temporary effect. It only lasts for maybe 10 seconds. Maybe not even that long. And the Empty Phantasm Shell, which, as we had discussed in the beginning of the episode, is covered in some slime. And what you're essentially doing is you're just kind of rubbing it on your weapon to imbue it with arcane status effect damage. I think that is all we need to look at for now. Let's go ahead and do a Chalice Dungeon as soon as I find what I was going to put in the spot of that other item. Let's put that lantern on. We might need it. Okay. Well, we may only do 1 or 2 floors. They usually consist of at least 3 floors, and hopefully I can do at least 1. Use the ritual altar to create a chalice dungeon with a chalice ritual. or to search for Chalice Dungeons created by hunters in other worlds. I could do a search, or we could just make the standard dungeon. I think we'll do a standard dungeon, and then if I have the ritual materials to create a second one, we're going to create a special one just to show one of the more meme-worthy aspects of this game. So we're going to use the Ptheumerian Chalice. I believe you can use these repeatedly if you want to make different randomized versions of the same Chalice Dungeon, because you get multiple chalices. You can see there's Tumerian Chalice in the top left there, Hintertomb Chalices, Lorean Chalices, and Ease or Eyes Chalices. But let's... Oh, I need to get a little bit of Blood Echoes. Easy enough. We have a whole stash of these we haven't used. Alright, so... we need to use not only Blood Echoes, but as you can see in the middle channel there, Ritual Blood. And we need to use 2 of them to finish this Chalice ritual. So it is a shared, fixed dungeon. I don't know if you can change that. I don't really feel the need to. Let's just go ahead and create it. The ritual is finished, and a chalice rests upon the altar. You may now explore the dungeon. Let's do it. There's a whole bunch of stuff on the screen there that I don't know if it really matters all that much. I think the messengers you see on the right indicates how many people are playing through that area at any given time. How many of those represent how many people, I don't know. Ta-da! We're in the Chalice Dungeons, or the Labyrinth, if you will, which is where the Scholars of Bergenworth and the Healing Church and possibly a couple of other splinter sects had all been coming and finding these bizarre things. See some carvings on the wall here. Candles. An altar of some kind. I don't think we have to light this. Oh yeah, we do. Okay. So, what are the labyrinths, and why are they here? There is a whole body of lore that we could probably spend another 15 to 20 hours of gameplay trying to get to. Or I could simply give you a very brief synopsis so that we don't have to waste our time trying to get to that information. So the reason this area specifically is referred to as the... Yes, there is a lamp that close to the other lamp. The reason this is called the Tumerian Chalice, or Tumerian Chalice, is that it's referring to a race of people known as the Ptheumerians, or Tumerians, depending on how you pronounce it. Let's see if we see any down here. All the way down there. Those are Ptheumerians. They were a race of ancient people who existed potentially long before humans ever existed on the planet. And they came into direct contact with the Great Ones. The Great Ones somehow were capable of communicating with the Tumerians, or vice versa. And they shared knowledge, and the Tumerians became a very powerful race in their own right. Learned some unique abilities that you won't see much of, if any, in the normal world where humans exist. But more importantly, at some point, as the item descriptions have been telling us, the Great Ones left. And when they left, the poor Tumerians were trapped. I don't know if they could find their way out of the labyrinth. And the reason why I say that is, as you can tell by looking at these people, they're basically skin and bones. I mean, they look like they're starving to death. And it's potentially because their contact with the Great Ones gave them unnatural long lives. Hard to say. But they still exist, clearly, because we're seeing them now. And they all look the worse for wear. They also have the same elongated limbs that we had seen in some of the beasts, but maybe more important than that, you notice that they all have pale skin. And if you look at those eyes, they're black. All black. Now, who else have we seen that has pale skin, long, thin frames, black eyes? The church servants. The much larger church servants. And perhaps most important of all, the Queen. The Queen is, in fact, the Tumerian Queen. Her relation to the Great Ones, I don't have a great explanation for it, but obviously they deemed her worthy of being blessed with child at some point. And she laments that that was the case because, of course, Great One child or not, it's still a child, and, you know, what mother even of a horrific beast wants to give up their child? Ouch! I'm gonna get you! Urgh. So those two skinny guys that I just beat up were not actually normal people. They were summoned by this lady right here. To kill her, the summons stop. That's important to note because there are other things that she can summon that are not the skinny Tumerian people. And they're not always skinny. I think we'll see probably in this very Chalice Dungeon that there are some quite big boys. In fact, I see one right there. Look at that guy. Also, there's someone hidden behind that incense there. I assume it's incense. Hey, big boy! Big swing! Second big swing! Ah, come on. That gypped. I think it was because he was on the steps when I shot him. So an easy way to get rid of the incense, by the way, is just to roll into the censer. Censer? I'm not sure how you say that. The incense pot. So the exploration of the Chalice Dungeons usually involves the same thing over and over, which is find a switch, operate the switch, which opens a door, and once that door is open, you can go to the boss of that particular layer of the dungeon. There are always at least 3, sometimes there's more, 4 or 5, sometimes, but they all involve the same thing. And I see a Snatcher down there. So in case that wasn't clear from what we had seen of them, the Snatchers are also Tumerian. So I don't think there was anything else back here. There is a ladder back this way we gotta go to. Yeah, we'll probably only get to see 1, maybe 2 layers if I hustle. Depends on how hard the boss is. The other big issue with the Chalice Dungeons is they do have a few unique bosses, and they also have regular enemies that get slightly juiced up and turned into bosses, which is a lame way of saying they didn't want to make new enemies altogether for the Chalice Dungeons. They just wanted to give you some enemies. This is, of course, a new one. See if he's hurt by Molotovs. He is. Ow! Big hit. Get in there! Look at that! Oh! I don't know what I hit, but it hurt. He did not like it. Oh, get in the front. Get in the front. Yes. Misso. Uh-oh. Ah, I missed with my hits. He's dead. Got a blood gem. And more importantly, if you're ever in a spot where you need insight, every time you face a new boss, I believe every time, maybe it's only new bosses you haven't seen before, you do get insight from them. But if you need more, there's always a chance to get it. So as you can see, the layers sometimes are very small, don't have a ton of extra content to them. In the case of this area, I think we might have had a side channel that we missed. I'll double check that. Whee! Ow, my ankles. Aha! Yep, here we go. So this is where you would end up if you had been knocked off the ledge up top by one of those swinging axes. And this could potentially be a mistake. Or it could be a very easy encounter because he doesn't have a ton of health apparently. Depending on the level of Chalice Dungeon you enter, sometimes the enemies are extremely easy and sometimes they're slightly difficult. Sometimes they're insanely difficult. That all depends on the level of the challenge that you choose to take on. I think we found ourselves some rats. I also think it's advisable not to let them surround you because they will kill you if they all can surround you and start taking shots all at once. Shining coins, nothing special. Quicksilver bullets, also nothing special. And you can see massive piles of bodies, cages, chains. What this could very well represent, and I don't know if we have any way to prove that in-game, except for what we've seen up above. As we mentioned, the people that were obviously Tumerian at this point, the church servants, some of them appear to work willingly with the healing church, and some of them appear to have been enslaved. These may be people who tried to resist the encroachment into the Chalice Dungeons by the healing church and or Bergenworth, and they were slaughtered. Hard to tell. It doesn't, I don't know if there's a good way to see from looking at these bodies that they were necessarily, oh, that looks like a dog. Now I'm sad. I hadn't noticed the dog corpse before. The bodies kind of look like standard humans, but, you know, maybe not all Tumerians were long, tall people. By the way, it's very rare coming down into these dungeons, aside from the blood gemstones, to find anything of real significance. You'll find some weapons that have different gem slots to them, but you won't find a ton of terribly new, better equipment. All you find is different variations of the same equipment you normally find. There is, I will simply add that there is one specific set of armor that is exclusive to the Chalice Dungeons, and you can only get it by coming into these dungeons. I don't know if we'll actually have a chance to get that in this playthrough. Be awesome if I could. I may just do it off camera to save some time playing through it. Alright, so we got about 25 minutes left in this episode. We'll see if we can't do one more layer. And if we have time, I'll see if I can't create a random Chalice dungeon. I may need some Chalice ritual materials that I don't have. Hopefully I can just buy them. Sorry, I'm always looking out for someone trying to spring a trap on me. The first time you come into these dungeons, everything looks fresh and new, and after you play through these areas dozens of times, you start seeing the same stuff over and over and over, and it's just, it loses some of its punch when you see all these procedurally generated areas that are basically just one design layout that gets snapped onto a couple of other segments of map, and you keep seeing the same ones over and over and over. Sometimes the enemies are varied, but even they are usually the same enemies you see over and over and over. So this is a trap. You see that raised switch right back here. If you step on that, they will shoot darts at you. This is a dead end because there is a platform, I believe, right up there that we can get to from a different direction. Yeah, aside from what I've already gone over, the lore that you can obtain from the Chalice Dungeons is pretty sparse. It doesn't add a ton to what you can get out of the main single-player experience of the game that does not involve the Chalice Dungeons. You get more than enough information to form a complete story just from the regular game. I say regular game because there is absolutely nothing in the Chalice Dungeons that you have to do to complete the story. You're never at any point required to enter the Chalice Dungeons. Depending on how you play the game, you may never even find the first chalice. You may not even find one of the subsequent chalices that's located in an area we'll see in the future. So this is the area that was over top of that chamber we were just in. You missed. That was another one of the summoned guys. See, they're all coming from that room there, so the bell ringing lady is almost certainly back there. The summoned enemies are usually weaker than standard ones. So they only take maybe a hit or two sometimes, but if you have multiple women summoning them, they can create quite a problem for you. There she is. As soon as you kill her, the rest of them disappear. And see you later, guys. You too. Bye-bye. Oh, we got a guy there. Come on. We got a big boy. This is a very dangerous big boy, so we're going to blood up. And clearly, the people of Tumerian, not too worried about wearing clothing. He appears to have nothing on except for sandals. Woo! Agile big boy. Ah! He got me. This big boy embodies the term fat rolling. It's a popular phrase in the Dark Souls, Bloodborne community. Well, not so much Bloodborne, because you never fat roll in Bloodborne, but in Dark Souls at least, you can over encumber your body, and then when you try to roll, you just kind of flop on the ground. Sorry, the 5-year-old in me was trying to roll him over so that I could see his genitals. Maybe it's for the best that I couldn't get it to work. Alright, so there was another chamber to the other side. These offshoot chambers that don't have the switch or the main path to the boss sometimes have items that are useful. The most common thing you find in these offshoot areas is, in fact, other ritual materials. The higher difficulty ritual, or the Chalice Dungeons, rather, usually require... Uh-oh. Uh-oh, uh-oh, oh, no, 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 no! I got trapped! They tricked me. You jerk. Yeah, so these can also be traps. Those blood versions of the enemies. And that's what they are. They're blood versions, basically. Can sometimes spawn from triggers like this. Anyway, what I was saying before I got interrupted is that the higher difficulty Chalice Dungeons usually require higher quality ritual materials. Sometimes they are simply... I bet I don't even have any more of it. The ritual blood, sometimes it's these bloodshot eyeballs, pearl slugs, tomb mold can be found. A couple of other really disgusting things that you'll start finding that are higher quality ritual materials. And we might find a couple of them in the game. Just playing through the standard single-player stuff. We'll worry about that when we find them. Some of them are really disturbing. I'll just leave it at that. Nothing there. But we have a chest. Now, there is, I would say, 90% chance that what we find in here is actually ritual materials, but only one way to find out. Surprise! It's ritual materials. They have to do that because the only way you'll find some of these is actually going into the Chalice Dungeons. You'll never find Ritual Blood 2, as far as I know, in the standard single-player game. The only place you'll find it is in Chalice Dungeons. Now, that said, the most important ritual material in the game for lore-specific purposes, which leads to the lowest level of the Chalice Dungeons, is found in the single-player game. But the path to get to that most lowest or most difficult Chalice Dungeon would take us way too long, and frankly, I just don't think it's worth it. But I think we have another boss fight. And as I said before, sometimes the bosses are just standard enemies. We've already seen these guys before. They're being traded as bosses now. You jerk. Come on, get in there. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Damn it. Oh! Oh boy. Alright. Get some health. Right up here. Get some separation. This is the one that likes to shoot me so much, so let's go after him. Oh, come on. What are you doing? Get in there. Get after him. Alright, 1 down. 2 to go. Look, I don't care which one of you goes first. I just want to shoot you. Look at all that damage. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. Nope, 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 nope. Alright, 1 to go. Come on. Oh, you jerk. The end. Okay, so it may have been just because that's the first time we fought them as a boss, or it could just be because we fought and killed a boss, but we did get insight for that one as well. Also, we gained the Tumerian Root Chalice, which will allow us to enter a lower level of the Chalice Dungeons, which is more difficult, but promises better rewards. Different equipment, gemstones, as you see, we just got one. We're not going to bother with that. There are dozens and dozens of variations of the Chalice Dungeons that we go into. Again, I don't think any of it is terribly worth the time that we would invest in getting to those things. And in fact, I don't even think we're going to finish this. I think we're just going to, well, I say that and it's like, if this is a 3-layer dungeon, we may be able to knock this thing out in, what we got, 14 minutes. I'd hate to bail on it when we're that close. Especially if we get my favorite boss at the end of this one. And when I say favorite, I mean the worst boss in the entire game. I hate it. I really wish they had not put it in this game because it is a horrible, horrible enemy that they made the terrible mistake of putting in this game. I can't even remember what it's called, but it's this big, fiery dog creature, and it is absolute hell killing it, even in this easiest of the Chalice Dungeons. In fact, they give you the chance to summon in some help. That's how difficult it turns out. What up? I heard something exploding down here, but I didn't see where it was. It's alright. I'm sure we'll find it. Oh, look at that. Got another one of these evil centipede creatures. Ow! He's getting a hit on me. Oh, come on. Get some shots. Oh, oh, no, no, no. Don't touch that stuff. Alright. He's dead. And he dropped something. I wonder what it is. Arcane Haze. So that is also a ritual material. You should probably not look at it right now because there is a bell-ringing woman summoning help. It's going to track us down and kill us. Let's not tempt fate. Ta-da! So we can use that to get to the upper portion of this area, or we can just fight the enemies that are available down here for us to attack. Would probably be a good idea. BB. Hey, what up, jerk? That is such a drastic departure from what they represent in the regular game when they're so goddamn hard to kill. Let's grab whatever he had. Bloodstone shards. This late in the game, kind of a meager reward, but you take what you can get. Let's see if we can go track down the bell-ringing woman so she doesn't keep ringing her bell. Because I don't want her to ring my bell. Ring my bell. I see another centipede. There she is. And there she goes. Alright, no more of her pesky helpers. I like that you can hear the bell clatter to the ground when you kill her. More ritual blood. I just want to make sure you have the ability to get to another dungeon if you choose to do one. cannon, which I think we can operate. Sure can. Unfortunately, you can't change the direction. It just shoots the way that it's facing. That is most likely the way to the switch that we need to get to, but there were some more things down here we can take a quick look at. Happy that didn't damage me. It's an Oogie Boogie! With a gemstone that's not really worth the effort. But hey, you never know. We might find a use for it. Maybe it's one that gives us some health back. Those are always nice to have. Guy's probably in the upper bounds of this area. So unless he decides to jump down here and get in the muck with me, he ain't getting none. This may or may not work. We're going to change things up. We're going to put on the saw spear and see if that does anything, but we'll find out by going after this guy. Nah, not a terribly big difference. Not here either. Like the head kind of falls off. What I assume is the head. Another Arcane Haze. Now we should be able to take a look at that item and see what it's good for. Arcane Haze. Material used in a holy chalice ritual. The tiny smatterings of haze that are found in certain ritual materials, sometimes required for special rites. The additional rite Sinister Bell makes the bell-ringing woman appear, and when she rings a sinister bell, hunters from other worlds will be beckoned as adversaries. So basically, if you're looking for higher quality materials or unique gemstones that are stronger than the ones you normally find in these dungeons, you can actually find Sinister Chalices. And when you enter the Chalice Dungeons they create, you open yourself up for invasion by other players. Again, as with all the Chalice Dungeons, you are never required to do any of that. If you don't want to experience it, you don't have to. More importantly, if you don't want to ever face another player in the game world, don't even go online. If you play offline, you will never be invaded by another player. I know that's always been a source of consternation for some people, but they could not make it easier. You simply just don't play online. You can't get help if you don't play online, but thankfully they limited the areas, there we go, that you can actually get invaded to, I think, only 1 or 2 specific areas in the main game. Everywhere else, you don't get invaded. I've played half of the episodes that we've done of this long play online. I haven't been invaded a single time. So, yeah, you never... Oh, look at that, another one. You never are required to face another player if you don't want to. And more importantly, I think people who do that kind of stuff, they understand how annoying it can be to play a game and have someone invade your world. And quite often, if you signal in some way in the game, because they do have gestures, that you just don't want to fight them, I've found that sometimes that's all it takes to get someone to just leave your world. It works. As silly as it is. I've had a couple of occasions where I was playing Dark Souls games, and I was in an area where, you know, there was a lot of tough enemies, and I was having a difficult time getting through the area safely, and I ended up getting invaded, and it really annoyed me that I was getting invaded at that time. And what I ended up doing was, as soon as the guy popped up in my world, I implemented a gesture where my character literally just went prostrate on the ground, just laid on the ground. And I didn't move. The guy danced around my body a little bit. I think he did one gesture, and then he just left the world. In fact, I think what ended up happening was, instead of attacking me, he gave me an item and then left. So not everyone is looking to ruin your day by invading your world. And if if you are the kind of player who does not want to deal with that, even though you choose to go online, other players are smart enough to recognize when they're simply acting as an annoyance to you that you don't want to deal with, and they will leave. That's not universal. Some people literally just want whatever items they have to get by invading your game, and they'll just kill you even if you give up before the fight even starts. Tomb mold. I think we had talked about that one before. Sorry, let's pick the right button. Material used in a holy chalice ritual. Mold that grows from rotten flesh and blood inside the old labyrinth. Matures to bear giant spores. So this is kind of a low-level version of that item, but what you'll remember from episode 6 is that I mentioned that the dead bodies that were found in that chamber underneath the sick room all had tomb mold growing out of them. As you get higher quality ritual materials, they go up by number. So this is tomb mold 1. You can go 2, 3, 4. I don't know what the limit is, but you'll start seeing plants sprout out of the higher quality materials. And in fact, some of these other ones that are numbered, I think the ritual blood would be one, you'll actually see stuff emerging from the ritual blood. And in fact, you can start seeing one in this one here. You see the very front edge of a skull emerging from that blood, which is a way of indicating that, as they say, when all is melted in blood, all is reborn. They were melting humans in this blood, or body parts of humans in this blood. Gruesome stuff. But at this point, if you aren't expecting gruesome stuff, you haven't been paying attention. Let's go this way. We just want to find the switch and make our way back to the main chamber, and once we got that, we're out of here. Or at least we gotta get a third boss encounter. We'll start it if it is that dog. Please don't let it be that dog. But it is the dog. We'll try. If I beat it, awesome. If I don't, I don't think I'm going to bother trying again. Well, you're awfully bright. And you're not attacking me. So I'll be honest, I have seen a lot of things down in these chambers. I have never seen this before. That is very weird. I almost don't want to attack him. He doesn't seem interested in what I'm doing. Can't talk to him. I have no idea what to make of that. He is. That's all I can say is he exists. That may be something I have to look up, because I have never encountered one of these guys before. Weird. He's almost following me. Alright. Hey, look, I'll leave you be. You leave me be. We'll have a live and let live policy here. Now watch him sneak attack on me. Nope, not like that. Come on. Come on, give me a big swing. Nope, that's a small swing. But that worked! That's good enough! Those, I believe, also can spit out some traps, like poison darts or whatever. All right, pull the lever. Is he still here? He's gone. Well, whoever he was, he appears to... Oh, no. Here he is. Okay, this is going to seem like a real dick thing, but we got to know if he has anything important. Especially since he doesn't seem to want to attack me, and he is glowing with energy, so it's possible he has something important. And frankly, if you're not going to talk to me, you're not really offering me anything, so... I'm sorry! Bullets. That's all he had was bullets. It seemed like he was something unique and special and different. Nope. Just a guy with a lot of extra bullets on him. Welcome to the Chalice Dungeons. That's the way it usually works. You find something extra cool looking and you think to yourself, there's no way this is going to be a piece of junk, and then you check him and find out, yeah, he is just carrying a piece of junk. Bullets are nice. I don't need them that bad. Alright, so this is the way to the boss. And I don't think there's any side... Yes, there is. This is a side chamber. So the side chambers usually have more ritual materials. Sometimes they have gems, sometimes weapons. The only way to find out is check them out. We'll take a quick peek in this one. Also, it's important to light the lamps as you find them while you're going through the dungeons, because you can teleport to them specifically once you... Oh! Once you get the chambers opened. Squeal. Well, let's see what's up here first, and then we can go down. Hopefully this is short. I don't need another giant chamber like we had in the main area. Small good, small fast. Here, more tomb mold. I got a couple of them from that one. Bullets. How about some blood vials? I'd love some extra blood. Cocktails. Of the throwing kind, not the drinking kind. Bold Hunter's Mark. See another door here. What's in here? More enemies. Another big chamber. Man, I was really hoping this wasn't a huge area, but I don't appear to be getting what I wanted. Nothing there. Sorry, I know how obnoxious it can be if someone whips a camera around while they're playing games, and I try not to do that as much as I can, but sometimes I have to make sure I'm not missing anything. So, there's a big boy in front of what looks like a casket, and we see an item on top of a switch. This time not a trap. But the big boy's coming. Owie! You pay for that. You got a gemstone. Sometimes there's items down here. Always good to look just to make sure. All right, so these are not always guaranteed to be weapons, but usually they are, if you're going to find any anywhere. These are also sometimes ritual materials. Case in point. They made a big deal out of you opening this to find more blood. I think that was where they erred, E-R-R-E-D, the most in this game, is that there are so many items down in these Chalice Dungeons, and they're almost never exciting in any way. Oh, the Snatcher's trying to come back. Oh, not quite dead yet. I feel happy. Nothing there. Got a door. Just in case, because, yep, that's where the trap would have been triggered. And this is the lower area from where he fought the two flame-wielding guys, and the other one, I believe, is still down here. There he is. Alright, guy. Let's do this. Alright, so nothing important in here. Our big get for this area was that ritual blood. That was it. In fact, the only thing that we seem to have gotten down here was ritual materials in any of the levels that we went to. So again, that's kind of disappointing when you consider the opportunity for unique items that they could have put in the game and you didn't get any of them. Alright, so that way leads to the boss. On the odd chance that this is that stupid dog that I hate so much, we're going to call in some help. And I'm not going to sweat the loss of 14,000 souls, since that's not even enough to level up one time if we do lose this fight coming up. And in case it is the dog, this weapon will do nothing to them, but this one will. And a higher volume of damage at that. Nothing there, nothing there. Alright, let's see what it is. It's a big chamber, and that usually indicates a big boss, but not always. Here we go. And it is that stupid dog. Ah, boy. And he is trucking the help I called in already. Oh, didn't make it in time to do a Viso. And he's starting to get nasty. Come on, Oleg, I need you to aggro him. There we go. Ouch! This fight is 1,000 times harder when it's a higher level, because he does some stuff that is flat unfair. And the fact that I'm having almost no difficulty killing him now is simply because it's a low level and I got someone else to try to drag some of his attention away. And now my help is gone. So we may be in trouble. Or maybe not. Awesome. Oh, I'm glad I fought him at a low level. Because that boss can be absolutely aggravating. But he also gave us a fire blood gemstone, so we can use that to upgrade our saw spear. Alright. So, this was the last level of this particular Chalice Dungeon, which is why there is no door out of here. Let's go back to the Hunter's Dream. We're going to try to summon a random dungeon. One that I may have to bleep out the name of, simply because it is probably something that we can't post about on YouTube, but we'll find out in a second here. Ah, well, maybe we can't do it. Is it that way? Yes, it is. Alright, so I'm going to see if I can get the name right. There it is. So this dungeon is respectfully, or maybe infamously known as the Dungeon, based on the name of the Chalice glyph. Let me double check online real quick and make sure that that is the correct glyph name for it. Yep, that's the one. All right, so we're going to just hop into this real quick and then teleport out. But there is a reason why everyone knows this dungeon, and it gets used for some rather cheesy leveling. And hopefully it hasn't been changed or modified to be less useful. I don't think that's going to be the case. So, all you have to do to level up in this area is, we'll light the lamp so that we can exit. That's an important item. You have to be able to exit the area. You walk in here, you turn left, and for that one enemy that just died, I got 83,489 blood echoes. So if you ever have difficulty playing through this game, and I don't think I'm going to be doing that unless we're really struggling with a boss, you just come into the, one more time, it's called the Dungeon, and you walk in, step around a corner, let one enemy die, rinse and repeat. These feel like dirty echoes. I didn't earn these echoes. I'm going to go spend them on blood vials. And not all of them, but I guess I had, we'll call it 20,000. I don't remember how many the dog gave me. So now we have plenty of extra blood vials for any upcoming encounters. And hopefully that won't be a big concern. But yeah, that's the quick and easy way to level in Bloodborne if you are the especially lazy or poor gamer that can't seem to beat a certain enemy, and you don't feel like going and wasting your time and energy trying to get to a level that you would be able to beat the enemy. So they now give us the option to get a short ritual root chalice, which allows us to just find random chalice dungeons. It looks like I was able to do it no problem, just making one down at the tombstone down there. So I'm not sure what this adds to the game that I didn't already have. And maybe they say something in the description. Let's see. One of the root chalices that breaks various seals in the old labyrinth. The glass chalice, when full, is used in a short ritual to quickly create and join a chalice dungeon, not for use in a ritual using standard materials. Short rituals are conducted at the makeshift altar, which is that one down there at the bottom left. Now, each of these gravestones here is where you can create chalice dungeons. And you can always get rid of a chalice dungeon if you've already finished it, so that you can make room for a new one. Again, we did one quick look at the chalice dungeons. That's all we're going to do for this particular series, because there's really not a whole lot of value in the story lore that we would gain from the chalice dungeons. So let's do a quick upgrade for our saw spear. Since we did get a blood gem, that would potentially add to its fire damage. There it is. Adds fire attack plus 9.5% and physical attack plus 5.4%. So that is a very useful gem for this particular weapon. It bumps the damage up pretty nicely. And again, it is fire-based damage. I don't think we got anything else that was great. Maybe. I guess we got to see what else. Well, there was a nice one for poison effect if you were trying to get poison damage stacks on an enemy. Skill scaling. Not really helpful to this weapon. But as I had mentioned before, the best area to get better quality blood gemstones is in the Chalice Dungeons. That is the main purpose of those areas, is to get those better gemstones. Blunt attack, physical attack up. I think that one is the one we can upgrade, probably. Right there. Well, let's see if there's a better one. I thought I saw a better one. I sure did. There we go. Blunt attack up some more. So we lose 3 points in physical attack, but blunt damage gets a huge boost, 22 extra points of damage. I don't think we'll see another one that's that good. Yeah, that's probably going to be it. That's a nice bump there as well. That one I would put on the saw cleaver, because that is a very good gem. I don't think there's going to be anyone that beats this one unless we go back into another gem or another Chalice Dungeon. So, all right, let us gain 1 level if we have enough and call it a day.
Welcome home. What is it you... Very... Let me...
All right, very good. Also, you'll notice that boosting your Arcane, which is the equivalent in this game of your Intelligence, also boosts the rate of Discovery, which is just how often enemies drop items when you kill them. So that is a nice side benefit for adding to your Arcane stat, is that while it may not directly affect your ability to cause damage just from standard attacks, when you do kill enemies, there's a higher chance that they'll drop something useful.
Farewell, good hunt. May you find...
Now, one other thing, and this may not be worth the effort, but let's see if Gehrman is asleep again. Nope, doesn't look like it. Also, this is an interesting thought that I don't know if any real proof can be offered to verify this, but quite often in the game, we get referred to by NPCs, other hunters, just random characters as a moon-scented hunter. Now, what exactly does the moon smell like? I don't know. What are they likely referring to? Probably these flowers, which are everywhere. And since we're constantly running back and forth through fields of flowers when we're in this area, it could just be that we're getting the fragrance of these flowers rubbing off on our clothing, and that is what people smell when they encounter us. Which, you know, if you're constantly getting covered in blood that is turning rancid and making you stink, flowers would probably be a good way to mask that smell. That's certainly a thought. So let's go ahead and wrap up this episode. At the very beginning, we did a huge synopsis trying to go over everything that we had experienced in the previous episode, which was a huge lore dump of an episode. We definitely needed that because there was a lot of story to catch up on. We returned back to the Forbidden Woods. We got 2 equipment sets. One of them we're wearing right now, which is the Graveguard set. And we also got the White Church Hunter set, which, as we had looked at in the description and realized, the Healing Church didn't just see the use of blood ministration as a way of treating patients, but also conducting research. So, as if we didn't already have enough to consider the Healing Church a corrupt and awful institution, we now have evidence that they weren't just trying to help victims of various ailments. They were trying to test on them, use them as guinea pigs, to find out what exactly would happen through blood ministration and whatever other treatments that they could come up with. So these people were basically about as evil as an organization can get in this world. We checked in on all of the NPCs back at Oedon Chapel. The nun Adela seemed to be starting to lose her compuncture. She's definitely starting to be affected by the hunt of the beasts, or the evening as it wears on. The suspicious gentleman, still suspicious, let us know that he didn't get any book learning. He taught himself everything that he knows. Surprise, the guy who's skeptical and has absolutely no evidence to support his claims didn't get an education. We also found that the old lady who had previously been so dour and difficult with us, and at a later time started becoming unraveled, kind of like the nun is right now, was suddenly sedate. And when we talked to her, she offered us a bottle of sedative, because clearly she was medicating to try to deal with what was going on outside. And finally, we talked to Ariana, who clearly is starting to suffer from what may well be the child that, you know, the great ones would be blessing wombs with. But we don't know for certain. We just know that she was not feeling well and she was grabbing her stomach. So we also went back to Yosefka's clinic. And we killed one of the celestial mob creatures that was inside there, only to discover that it was carrying Yosefka's blood vial, which indicates that, in fact, she used to be Yosefka. And the experiments that the imposter Yosefka has been conducting were on the people that were in the clinic. Unfortunately, we did not get to see the suspicious beggar because I botched the sequencing for that particular encounter. I just went right past it because I didn't find the shortcut to that area. But I did go over what would happen if you had sent him to both Yosefka's clinic, where he would also be turned into a celestial mob, and also what would happen if you sent him to Oedon Chapel, which is he would stand outside since he is repelled by incense, and if you waited long enough and kept leaving and returning to Oedon Chapel, the people inside the chapel going out for whatever reason, finding food, trying to get blood, whatever, would all be killed one by one until there was no one left. I think even the chapel dweller, the gentleman that's like a puddle of melted ice cream, would eventually die if you waited long enough to respond to what was happening. And then we found that the imposter Yosefka was writhing on a gurney in the back of the clinic. And when we talked to her, she indicated that not only was she feeling disgusting because of something that had changed, that she felt a writhing sensation in her head, not unlike, say, a slug that may have been inside of her skull. Who knows? But it seemed that she may also have been one of the lucky ones that was blessed with child by a great one. And when we killed her, we found 1/3 of an umbilical cord. So yes, she was in fact blessed with a child by a great one, it seems. And then we went into the Chalice Dungeons and went over what the Tumerians were in brief. There wasn't a whole lot of great story content except to talk about the fact that the Tumerians may not have all universally welcomed the encroachment on their territory by the Healing Church and or Bergenworth. And in addition to being outright slaughtered, some of them were in fact imprisoned or enslaved and forced to work for the Healing Church, which is why you see them walking around the cathedral ward wearing church clothing. So that's going to do it for this episode of our long play, lore-specific long play, lore play, whatever I'm going to call it. I keep forgetting. Of Bloodborne. As always, I do appreciate all of you watching, and I will see you next time.